Hello, everybody. How are you guys all doing tonight? It's so good to see you all. I do have a special guest with us tonight, and she's going to help me introduce our new case later. But I am going to have her on when I talk about the Delphi stuff. Hey, CJK, good to see you. Hey, Shelby. Hey, Lynn. John, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining my membership. Hey, Elias. Hey, Dragonette. Dragonette, the intro song is by Tech Death Hippie. He's one of my moderators. He does my intro music as well as my outro music, and it's called Requiem. It is an amazing piece of music. I really, really love it. He's just a really super talented guy. He should be here in a little bit. He's just a really, really cool person. If one of my moderators could drop his YouTube channel for me, please, his link, that would be great. I highly recommend that you go out and listen to his music, subscribe and like him. He's really great. Hey, country girl. Thank you for coming. Hey, Michelle. Always good to see you. So anyway, hold on, let me get it. I'll grab it. Just a minute. Bear with me, you guys. I always end up closing the windows that I need most. So just give me a moment. My tabs, because I'm such a tab girl. I didn't want to close that. Okie dokie. There it is. Oops. There he is. He raises guinea pigs too, so that's kind of cool. He has a lot of their photos on his channel. Hey, little Pookie, how are you? Did you get my email? I sent you back an email from the one that you sent me, but I didn't hear back from you. So I hope you got my email response to you. So I dropped Tech Death's YouTube channel there, you guys, so you can go check out his music. Oh, thank you, Dragonette. I certainly try to keep it friendly, quiet, and with no drama. So that's the goal. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest tonight. She is my daughter. So please, everyone, welcome Shelby to the live stream.
Hello.
Hey, Shelby, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We were laughing because people think we sound so much alike over the phone. So we didn't know how this was going to work, if you guys could tell which one of us was which when we're talking. So that will prove interesting later. But yeah, it's really good to see you guys. One of the things, hey, Elias. Good to see you. Yeah, everybody say hello to Shelby. She is a moderator as well, as you guys probably can tell, but she's really going to help me with our new case that we're going to talk about tonight. This case is close to both of our hearts because it happened within the area where we live, so not far from us. So yeah, it's one of the reasons why I'm going to cover the case.
Well, I think it's also a really important case and kind of ties in with, am I muted? No, okay. Delphi as well a little bit.
Yeah, it does, for sure. Jennifer, hey you. I am so glad to see you. And everybody, say a prayer for Jennifer, please. She's been really, really sick all week. I want everybody to put her on their prayer chain so that she can get to feeling better. I can't believe she's actually here, but I'm thrilled that she is. So the first thing I'm going to talk about tonight is, you guys all know that I think that Cop Facts or Perry Freeman is just amazing. And Perry dropped a new video today. And I thought that we should talk about that video. In his video, he talks about motive. And if you guys haven't seen him, Jennifer, could you drop Cop Facts' YouTube channel for me in the chat so that everybody can go look him up? He is a retired detective. He was in Colorado Springs for a very, very long time. And he was even there during the whole John Benet Ramsey case. He was, after he left Colorado Springs, he went to Nebraska and became a chief of police there, actually, in the town that he went to. He has worked undercover in narcotics. He has done so many different things. I consider him an expert when we're talking true crime. And in this particular, thank you, Jennifer, so much. In this particular genre, when we're talking true crime, we need to have experts. There are so many people that think they are experts and they put out their information as if they are. He is, Michelle, did you actually get a chance to talk to him? I hope so, because he is amazing and he is so kind and so nice. And he really wanted to talk to you. So I hope the two of you did get to talk. But anyway, after I had him on, hey, AJ, it's so good to see you. The whole thing that I see with Perry is he's so down to earth, and the way he puts out the information that we should know about how to look at the case, how to break the case down, things that we should be looking for. It's really easy to understand. So if you guys go to his channel, he's done a number of videos on Delphi. And the one that he dropped today is about motive. And he talked in his video about how because he taught at the police academy, and he taught detectives on things that they need to do to solve crimes. And he was talking about the questions that you always have to answer is the how, when, where, why. There's like 6 things. I'm looking for my notes because I wrote it all down. Sorry, guys. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Those are the 6 questions that have to be answered for any case to be solved. or for any case to get a resolution. And motive is important. I do know from just my experience watching true crime, real true crime stories and so on, that sometimes a motive can be elusive. Sometimes they don't necessarily find it, but most of the time they do. And Shelby, we do share a love of true crime, don't we?
We do. And I just realized that I could probably answer these questions with my voice rather than not.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Is it still not working?
So anyway, my brain is just going in different directions here. I was reading a note. And I do apologize, you guys, but so talking about that is important when we think about who, what, when, where, why, and how in regards to Delphi. And as Perry talked about today in his video, a lot of us have our POIs, people that we are looking at for this crime, people that we think may very well fit some of the things that need to fit, such as description. Did they have the means? Did they have the opportunity, the motivation? Because we really need to know what motivates somebody. And I don't know that the motivation for this killing is necessarily blatantly out there as far as what it is. There's a lot of speculation. People have talked about that. But it can't be speculation. We have to get down to the nitty-gritty of what motivated the killing of Abby and Libby. And whoever did this crime, they did plan it. They planned it, and they've gotten away with it for 5 years. So we need to apply what he says in his video to motive and to motivation. And if we're able to do that, he basically tells us that, we could get pretty close to figuring out who this might be if we can figure out what the motive is. And yes, he did say that he believes it's targeted. This was not a random act. Right, Shelby?
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I absolutely agree with the fact that it's not a random act at all, especially given the area. It's not like it's a well-known area.
No, exactly. And the fact that of the remoteness of where they were actually found. I think that is, I just go back to that. I know a lot of people don't believe that. And we always have to, we've talked about this, we always have to leave our box open. So in saying that, what I mean is this could have been a serial killer that came in, did this, left, gone, and he's just gone. It could be.
It could have been, but I don't think so. I think that's probably at the bottom of the list of possibilities.
And I agree with that. I think when we and Jennifer says that he's been on that bridge many times, and I agree with her. One of my first thoughts after I saw that video of Bridge Guy was how he came across that bridge, basically with his hands in his pockets, or, not out to his sides for balance or whatever. He just walked it like it was not a care in the world. in that video.
No, he had no fear. And if you look at the pictures, I mean, I've never been to the area, but if you look at the pictures, that bridge, I mean, I have a fear of heights, so there's no way you'd catch me on it. But if I was, I surely would not be walking the way that he did.
Oh no, exactly. And my fear of heights is the same. I couldn't even crawl across that bridge. I don't even think I could get my foot out onto that bridge.
Yeah, no.
I would be absolutely out of my mind. It really tells you how fearless that Abby and Libby were that day. I mean, the fact that those two girls just took off across that bridge. And I think when we talk about this case, and, you know, I've touched on it a little bit this week about the corruption that's going on in this county. And I think it's deep. I think it's a lot deeper than we think. And I think that if we talk about that corruption and we use that as what Doug Carter is talking about when he says people are going to be shocked, really shocked, it's going to be somebody high profile that's involved in this, may not be the killer, but is involved in this whole thing. I think that speaks to that. What are people going to think when they find out what you did to those two little girls in the woods? I think that is really, really telling. Michelle says that she believes he's military and their training and experience are intense, especially special forces. I've said all along, the military base is not that far from Delphi. And nobody's ever talked about that, about somebody in the military possibly doing this. I have never seen that talked about on any of the Reddits, the Facebook groups. I've not heard anybody talk about this person being military when there's an actual Air Force base that's not that far from Delphi. But
it
even
could be law enforcement though too, because they have that similar training.
I'm sorry, Shelby, what'd you say?
It could be law enforcement because they have similar training too.
And that's true. It also could be a hunter, because hunters also know how to kill quickly. And as there have been many videos made on YouTube about the Indiana Packers, right, that butts up right to the back of the trails, that property. So they're not that far from the trails at all. And everybody knows that they have a kill floor in that facility. I don't know why they still do that. But people that work there on that kill floor, they send a psychiatrist every few months, because these people it is to sit all day long and openly kill an animal just constantly. That's all you're doing with your bare hands and a sharp object. It's got to really mess you up. And that's why they have such a high turnover. I don't believe people can stay and do it.
It's not as easy to watch a living thing die as people, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think it is either. And then at your own hands is worse, even.
Yeah, it takes, especially if you're looking the living thing, you know, an animal or a person in the eye, that takes a different kind of person, I think.
And Daisy said the base is barely open anymore. They don't even have commissary or a place to get a military ID, but it is a spot to hide the president. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know what it was like 5 years ago there, but just the fact that they did have that area there, I mean, it could be military. They don't necessarily have to be based there. They could have military experience from before and they're not in the military anymore. All of those things. But going back to motive, there has to be a motive for this. And if it was not random, if this was targeted, then there is definitely a motive. And I think we need to just listen to Perry about that and start talking about what the motives possibly could be for what happened that day. I'm not one to want to just jump in on conspiracy theories, but I go back to this. If this is bigger than what we think, if the girls' deaths are just the tip of an iceberg, this could be a lot bigger, and it could absolutely shock a lot of people, the entire state of Indiana, for sure, the region, and possibly the country when everybody finds out what is actually going on here. Because hey, Tech Death is in the house, you guys. He is here. Shredder is in the house. How are you, Tech Death? We talked about you a little bit before you got here, just so you know. There's some people who are loving your music, so I just wanted to let you know that. So if the girls were targeted, if they were, first of all, I do believe, people ask, I do believe that they were lured there. I do believe that it's very, very highly possible that that's what the Klein's involvement was, that was to get them there. And then go from there. What would have been the motive? Why were they wanted to be there? So Michelle thinks that it was a serial killer. And I think we have to listen to her because Michelle is a CSI. So she knows crime scenes and she knows a lot about the topic. So again, we talk about people that have experience in this arena. We have to listen to that. Yeah, Perry definitely knows his stuff. I like bouncing questions off of him. He's very open to answer those. He's been a really good source of information for me. And I do appreciate him. It's okay, Tech Death. I know you had to probably feed the pigs. It's all right. We're good. So I think we should just start thinking a little bit more about the motive, and maybe we should do an entire live stream on motive at some point and talk about that. Maybe you guys can be thinking about it, or, you know, maybe you already have your ideas of what a motive for this crime could be. When you are looking at your motive, you have to make sure, and this is what I've tried to tell people for years on Reddit here, you have a POI and you think that they fit the box. They check this box, they check this box. They don't check this one. They have to check all the boxes. You can't have them not check boxes. They have to check them all for them to be the right POI, correct? Does everybody understand that? If you can't place them in those woods with those girls' bodies, they have to have been there that day. And you have to be able to prove that they were there. Lynn, I agree with you. An abduction gone wrong. I don't believe, in my heart, for whatever reason, I just don't believe that the motive was to just go out there and murder them. Just don't see it.
I agree. It was not.
I just don't. I wondered what you felt about that, Shelby. I just don't.
I think, yeah. I mean, given,
I could be wrong. It's just my opinion.
Crime scenes.
Yeah, I'm just giving opinion here.
Where they were found and how close they were to being seen and the time of day, that was killing them was not the goal.
Yeah, I just think that
that was just the end product.
Right.
And I do believe, and I've said this several times, that it's not just one person. There's at least two people involved in this.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think because they ran, as Jennifer said, where'd she go? There she is. Jennifer said they ran, it flustered him, in my opinion, and he had to hurry. I think they ran, they got, hey, Curly JK, thank you so much for the super sticker. That was super nice of you. I think they ran, and that thwarted what the plan was for them. And when they caught them, they realized that it had all gone bad. They needed to get out of there. And yeah.
At that point, the girls had become a liability and they couldn't leave them because chances are they probably knew the killers.
And Mama Libra Scale says, I believe it was possible that they would have been trafficked. I think so too. I think so more now today than I ever have. And again, could be wrong, but I definitely think that there was more than one person involved. And I think that this was more, it's either that or sadly, the motive was possibly to film the murder.
If the goal was to murder them, it was not to murder them where it happened.
Yeah.
It would have been to have taken them to a different location and do it. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
If that's the road you're going to go down. And Blind Squirrel says it was a thrill kill. That I don't think so.
Yes. Yes, they did cross at the shallow side. We do know that. What? Well, first of all, I'm going to put this up here. How do you explain the crime scene staging, the dolls and the stuffed animal and the mask? Don't believe that we've been told that there's a doll or a stuffed animal or a mask. So I can't speak to those things because those are rumors. As far as the crime scene being staged, we now know from the affidavit that came out on Monday that there definitely was staging. The girls were moved to some degree, and the crime scene was staged. Staging means that was made to look like something else. That's what staging a crime scene means. And I think they staged it to make it look like it was a sexual assault or sexual in graphic nature.
Yeah. Again, staging usually means that you're trying to cover up your motive, whatever the reasoning behind the crime was. And trying to confuse the police.
Yeah. Little Pookie says, in her opinion, he proved he would do anything in the woods in daylight. Yeah, he had whoever did this crime, I don't necessarily think they wanted to do it in broad daylight. I think it happened because they ran. But again, could be wrong. It could be somebody who's just brazen and has absolutely no fear. Let's see. Hey, Tony N., how are you? Hey, Truth and Justice. I think that Doug Carter's, I get where you're coming from here, Truth Justice, I do. But I honestly believe that Doug Carter's numerous statements that speak to the religious themes is because he's a truly, deeply spiritual man. And I think that's where that's coming from him, is his spirituality and how he feels personally. And Mama says that she knows it had to be more than one person because she's been on that terrain and it is rough. Yeah, it is rough. I mean, we watched Anthony Greeno go up and down those hills, and he's a thinner guy, who was in really good shape. And even he was having trouble. The first hill that the girls would have had to have gone down was so steep. When Anthony did it, he ended up sliding down it, which, it's very possible that happened, or that somebody fell or something, because Kelsey talks about seeing it that day when they were doing the search, and you could tell that somebody had slid down it. So,
well, you also have 2 victims, and in the best of circumstances, for one, person to harm 2 people at the same time is rather difficult.
Yeah. And, I noticed that, Mama, that those branches that are all in that area, they're these little tiny tree type things, young trees, whatever. And most of them probably would have broken off because they're small in their circumference size. Yep, Gonzo's been there. Gonzo is probably one of the people that's given me a lot of insight as to that terrain and what's out there. So, yeah, there's a lot of dead brush for sure. So yeah, we just have to keep, keep the faith. I think that we need to remember that this case is still being worked. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. I would not be at all surprised to find out that there's a ton more going on than we're aware of. I do believe it's going to be solved and soon. I think there's a lot happening right now. If law enforcement was the one feeding the information that's been leaked or that's been put out, if law enforcement is behind wanting that done, then there's definitely a reason, and they have an agenda that they're following to do that. If not, I worry a little bit. Like I said, somebody yelled at me in my comments on my Tuesday night live stream and said something to the effect that this is public knowledge. These documents are public knowledge and we have every right to know. And I just want to tell everybody that's not true. They sealed a lot of the search warrants. I thought they sealed all of them, in fact, for this case. When a court does that, it's for a reason, and it's to protect the integrity of the case. There's a lot of things that have to be put into a search warrant to get a judge to sign off on it. It has to be extremely descriptive, and you have to make sure that what you're giving is accurate.
Well, you also have to have probable cause. You can't just say you want a warrant for someplace and go in there and search it. You have to have probable cause.
Right, exactly. No, exactly. You can't lie in a search warrant. I've had people tell me that. You cannot lie in a search warrant. So everything that was in that search warrant is truth. Because
yes, because if you lie in a search warrant, the first thing that the defense would do at trial is have the search warrant thrown out, which then means that any evidence obtained from that search warrant would be inadmissible. So
yes,
you're shooting yourself in the foot by lying on a warrant. Any good defense attorney is going to nip that in the butt real quick.
Teresa, I'm praying for justice too. And I hope you're right that by fall time, the case will possibly be fully solved. Where I'm very hopeful for that. Cryptex, good to see you. Law enforcement has the guy already. They're taking their time to build a solid case. No need to rush. Hope that's the truth. Time will only tell. Lisa says, balance the public's need for information against potential harm. Recognize that legal access to information differs from an ethical justification to publish it or broadcast it. And I firmly, that can't be said, but you said that, you hit the nail right on the head, because that's exactly what I'm talking about here. And I said that when I pulled my murder sheet stuff. I said, just because we have information doesn't mean that we should be letting that information out. We have to be careful. With that being said, I want to take a moment here, if I still have it, real quick. I had a post. I just got to find it. Sorry, guys. Give me one moment. Let's see. Thought it was in here, but it's not. Nope. Hate it when I have it up and I have all my stuff in order and then I missed it. Here it is. So I had a comment that I just want to, this will be the way we end Delphi and start talking about the new case. But I had a post or a comment, I'm sorry, and it's kind of a long one, on my community post that I made about taking down the murder sheet stuff. And this is what they said to me. There are several items that should be examined before dismissing the murder sheet. Number one, Kevin claimed to have the interrogation of Kagan and the Barbara McDonald interview on an Indiana court website. He said that the level where his information was found is something available only to attorneys. Kevin said he contacted authorities and asked advice as well as permission to publish redacted versions of these items. Kevin claims he got that permission. Recently, it has been said, though, I have no original source for this, that two other people had downloaded unredacted copies as well. And they got it before Kevin did. And that's may explain soon why after the release of their redacted version, someone else provided a copy somewhere online that was not redacted. Kevin is a licensed attorney in Indiana, and if his actions were illegal or even a major risk to ongoing court actions, I believe he would have been at minimum dissuaded from posting these documents. The backstory on the recently released Ron Logan affidavit is that Ron Logan himself gave it to HLN, and HLN recently made it available to the murder sheet. I have not checked for a source on this, but thought it was stated on the murder sheet's Facebook. I just want to reply to that. HLN did not release these documents, and I guarantee you of this. They did not release these documents because their attorneys would not allow them to. If HLN had the chance to release these documents that we're talking about, that the murder sheet has released all of them, HLN would have done it. They wouldn't have given it to somebody else. They wouldn't have given it to some small little podcast in Indiana. They would have released these themselves. And I believe that their law department, because they were worried about the repercussions, did not do it.
Right.
That's just how I feel. So if any of this particular information is inaccurate, they hoped that somebody would correct them. For all we know, there is something going on behind the scenes that is advancing and aiding this investigation. The fact that Kevin is licensed to practice law in Indiana is reason enough for me to give him the benefit of the doubt. If he was really harming the investigation and or any subsequent trials, I believe the Bar Association could have prevented his involvement with this information. The Bar Association isn't even going to know about it when he does it. It'll be later or more later down the road. The Bar Association is not watching everything you do. I have wondered if he and journalist Anya have been given a green light because it is known they will redact and attempt to handle such material professionally. Better Kevin and Anya having this information than the tabloids like the Inquirer get it first. Before the clerical error, there was Lee Kerr and other leaks, many of which have been reasonably accurate. There are many allegations of local corruption hindering the Delphi investigation. Various law enforcement officers have stated that arrests will shock the community. Considering the likes of possible suspects like the Kleins, Kurtz, or Chadwell, I think the community would ask what took so long. Possibly there is someone high socially in or near the Delphi community who everyone assumes is beyond suspicion. Authorities have worried about double jeopardy in the past. That gave me the idea they have a suspect who has the resources to lawyer up and fight like hell. Taking all of this into consideration, I think it is very possible that someone within the investigation is surreptitiously leaking bits and pieces that will help the public identify the killer or killers. I am a journalist and have thought about what I would do if I had received the information Kevin and Anya have found. I would first go to the authorities and to let them know this sort of thing is available online. And then I would ask if I could use the information, if it would be harmful if I used such information, if I had permission to publish the information. I would proceed. If it was potentially harmful to the investigation, I would discuss that with law enforcement and the prosecutors. If others had also downloaded the information, that would be a consideration as well. I personally believe I could present such things in a professional, non-sensational manner. For instance, we need to know the truth behind these released documents. If the truth is as I have laid out in the first 5 points, I have no problem with the document releases. Further, is the information actually harming the investigation? How could it harm future trials when any defense attorney halfway trying could obtain all of this information and make it public? If it is true that Ron Logan himself provided the affidavit to HLN, maybe the system's vindictive and cruel treatment of Logan has come around to bite them in the backside. Other than some specifics about the crime scene, we have learned very little from the affidavit. People were already speculating about knives, guns, blood, etc., unlike the Mara Murray or Summer Wells cases where the online public barged in and became vicious mobs. Delphi family members begged all of us across the United States to keep Abby and Libby's case alive. We were asked to help identify the bridge guy. We were also instructed to discuss the case with strangers in our area. I never figured out how discussing the case with strangers here in Idaho would help solve the case. Recently, I have wondered if the Delphi families feared the case was getting stalled until it was freezing cold and not solvable. There are a lot of things that we don't know. Like Carter says, maybe someday we will. So, One of the things that sticks out to me about this person and what they wrote to me, I agree somewhat with what they said, but I also agree with what I said on Tuesday night. We have to hold Anya and Kevin to a higher standard because they are professionals. We have an investigative reporter, journalist, and we have a lawyer who should know the laws. And just because you have information doesn't mean that it should be released to the public, and especially in an ongoing investigation. And that's how I feel about that. This search warrant was relevant in 2017. It's not relevant today. Ron Logan is deceased. If they were going to charge Ron Logan with a crime, they would have already. That is how I feel about this. And I think all the things that they talk about in this affidavit could possibly hurt the case. And I don't think there was any reason to bring it out other than clicks and to get subscribers to their YouTube channel and to their podcast. Sadly, that's just how I feel. And, you know, like I said, I'm ready to take the hate. I'm ready to take the brunt of that. I already have. So it's okay. So Shelby and I are going to talk about a case. We're going to just take a little break here from Delphi and talk about a little boy that sadly was murdered here locally in 2016. So I want to pull up something. So give me a minute here. While I do, I'm going to share my screen with you. I just have to pull up the file. Oop, there we go. Robert B. I was actually surprised when I started looking at this today, when I was getting this all ready for the live stream. I was really surprised to find out that there's been a lot of YouTubers who've covered Robert's case. And that surprised me because he's from a small town as well. So let me get him up here on the screen with us. Okay. So you'll get to see him. This is Robert B. Jr. He was 13 years old. He went by the nickname Bonsai. He was from Pekin, Illinois. He was reported missing after he didn't show up for school one morning on November 17th, 2016. It wasn't unusual for Robert to go missing from school, however. He fled by bicycle from his home at 233 Sapp Street when a Pekin Police Department truancy officer visited the home to issue a truancy ticket. When he wasn't in school the next day, a truancy officer came by the house again that morning, where his mother, Lisa B., reported Robert missing. With no reason to believe he had been the victim of wrongdoing, Robert was listed by police as an endangered runaway. Due to his mother's conflicting reports of the 4'6", 110-pound boy's whereabouts the night before, police considered the afternoon of November 17th to be the last time Robert was seen before he vanished, though his mother said that he had returned home later that day. It was Friday morning. His friend walked him to the bus stop. He didn't get on the bus. He didn't go to school, Lisa B. told WMBD TV News the following Monday. He had stayed the night before at a friend's house, she told search crews, but the sleepover has never been confirmed. 9 months later, on July 24th, 2017, Robert's scattered remains were discovered 11 miles from his home on the 14,000 block of Route 29 on and around property that was owned by the family of a friend of Lisa B's. Within 48 hours, investigators matched Robert's dental records with dental evidence. 2 months later, DNA from Robert's mother and father, Robert B., conclusively linked the remains to Robert. It took time to collect the DNA, as Robert's father had died on March the 8th, 2017. It was complicated because they needed 2 samples, Tazewell County Coroner James Baldy said. The father passed away earlier in the year, so it took us a while to run that down. They needed better sampling of the father's DNA. On October the 10th, Baldy ruled Robert's death a homicide and issued a death certificate to his mother, who published an obituary stating that Robert was pronounced dead at 3:15 p.m. Monday, July 24th, 2017, in Pekin, and a memorial visitation was held October 14th at Preston Hanley Funeral Home Crematory in Pekin, where private family services were later held. A cause of death has yet to be determined, and Robert's remains were turned over to the Pekin Police Department, Baldy said. His mother was given a certificate of death so that the family could get some closure and have some ceremonies, he explained. Robert's half-sister, Stephanie Clouser, said there is yet no marker, no gravesite for Robert. His body has not been released. His little body is being held for evidence. Regarding his remains, Pekin Police Information Officer Billy Ingalls said, any evidence is still in custody. The matter, she said, is under investigation. Ingalls did not confirm if there are any suspects connected to this case. Immediately following Robert's disappearance, an impressive contingent of volunteers began holding frequent searches and vigils for this boy. Team Bonsai enlisted the help of Trucks for Kids, a Missouri-based volunteer group dedicated to locating missing children. Since late July, many of the local volunteers have since merged into groups seeking justice for Robert. Human remains found scattered about a South Pekin backyard 2 months ago have been conclusively linked to missing Pekin teen Robert Banzai B. The Illinois Forensic Lab in Morton, Illinois, completed the tests, and the results were announced on Saturday, September 23rd, by the Tazewell County Coroner, Dr. James Baldy. The boy had been missing from his home on Sapp Street since November 17th, 2016. B's bones, all of which were recovered, were found on July 24th on or near 14316 Route 29 by someone who was mowing the lawn. Anyone with information regarding Robert's murder or disappearance are urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Theories abound, but no real leads on the missing boy. Rumors continue to flow about 13-year-old Pekin boy Robert B., who went missing on November 17, 2016. Robert, who was red-haired, was last seen wearing a red and gray shirt, blue jeans, and red Nike shoes. He was not carrying a cell phone. He had no money. No family or friends have since reported any contact with him. His sister, Stephanie Clouser, said Robert takes medication for seizures and ADHD. He could have colored his hair and is wearing colored contacts. He was said to have been seen in Springfield in an April 3rd, 2017 post to LinkedIn Pulse, a psychic, Carrie Williams, who was a self-proclaimed psychic detective from Woodstock, Illinois, claims she dreamed someone named Kevin was involved in Robert's disappearance and that she knows where he will be found and that he would be found by his father. No matter how far-fetched some ideas may seem, it's clear that most sources seem to have good intentions and are holding out hope that Bonsai will return safe and sound. We all want him found, Susie Kemper posted recently on the official Finding Robert B discussion Facebook group. Right, Susie. He's like our adopted kid, replied Jan Bridgman. The page launched in December of 2016. Robert's father, Robert J. B. Jr., died March 8, 2017, as a resident of the Kindred Hospital in Peoria, Illinois. The 64-year-old was ill and living in an assisted living center well before his death. In what appears to be a March 29, 2017 post written by Robert's mother, Lisa, I got an update on my son today. He was seen in Springfield getting out of a truck with two guys. That post cannot be found on any of B's 3 Facebook profiles, and his sighting has been unconfirmed. Of the tips from the public, none have had the teeth to warrant a payout of $1,000 reward that the Peoria Crime Stoppers voluntarily offers for a solid lead in a case. According to Pekin Police Investigator Sergeant Seth Rainey, it's just one of those cases and people want answers, and we want that worse than anything. We follow tips until they are exhausted. It takes a lot of man hours, but we have a duty to run those down. One such tip was that of Jennifer Gordon, who in January told state and local police in good detail that Robert was witnessed entering his house at 233 Sapp Street and that she and neighbors believed it must be searched. It was a lead that Pekin Police Chief John Dossey said was deliberately false, and Gordon admitted it. A glut of responses quickly followed, with one person claiming a child's body was also discovered in South Peoria. Rainey said no children's bodies have been discovered in central Illinois since Robert was reported missing, and Peoria County Coroner Jamie Harwood confirmed that none had been found. 13-year-old Robert B. Jr. Bonsai may be gone, but he certainly is not forgotten. There was a rally outside the Pekin Police Department that was held on Saturday, November 21st of 2020, demanding that Robert Banzai B. his murder case be handed over to the Illinois State Police. And a filmmaker, Ash Patino, who has made a multi-episode documentary about the B case, led this protest. The rally was also held to keep his unsolved murder in the public eye. The Pekin Police Department failed him, said Stephanie B., his sister. As people gathered in front of the police station, a couple of the lead detectives took a higher position, and pretty much the case stopped about 1.5 to 2 years ago. There has been no movement. What I look for is cases that are forgotten, not by their community, but by authorities. That's why I decided to look into this case, because there was so much confusion around it, said filmmaker Ash Patino, who drove 13 hours to attend the Saturday rally. Patino has been documenting the case for about a year and has produced over 18 episodes. She has a YouTube channel. It's called Ashes to Ash TV. I highly suggest that you guys go out there. She has, I believe, 3 seasons, getting ready to start her 4th season. Each season, she does one case. She has done over 20 episodes on Bonsai. She came here. She spent time here. She hit the streets. She interviewed people. She got into some of the most, I want to say, drug infested areas of South Pekin where Bonsai lived. She really got a lot of information. She actually got and dug up some really good evidence. It was a local lead. Hold on. Where did I end up here? Sorry. But she made the multi-episode documentary, and she held this rally to help keep his unsolved murder in the public eye. Patino has essentially been conducting her own investigation of this case. She comes up with some evidence she and Robert's supporters think the police should take a closer look at. We've given them a ton of information, and we feel like we are not being paid attention to at all. And I think we have some pretty valid leads, said Patino. So that's why we want the state police to come in and take a good look at it. We are not saying anything on the show is 100% correct, but what we are saying is that some of the stuff we have uncovered needs to be looked into. Pekin Public Information Officer Billy Ingalls says the state police have participated in this investigation all along. The Pekin Police Department Investigation Division, within days of Robert going missing in 2016, requested assistance with the investigation from Illinois State Police. Illinois State Police Zone 4 Investigations Command and special agents have assisted with numerous facets of this investigation and have continued to assist throughout. They continue to collaborate on the investigation, which is still ongoing. No police officers came out to watch as the protesters placed roses on the brick sign in front of the department entrance before marching around the Pekin Justice Center on Saturday. Justice for Bonsai, justice for Robert, protesters chanted while carrying placards. Tanya Slater and her 2 young grandsons walked with the crowd. We knew him, and we think he deserves justice. And that's the story of him. His case is still... thank you so much, AJ, for putting that up for me. That's his case. And Shelby can speak to how she felt about when she heard about what happened to Robert. There's a lot of finger pointing at his mother. She was not the best mother. She would have gotten no awards for Mother of the Year. But yeah, Shelby, what did you think about what happened?
That's a loaded question.
You got to speak up, dear.
I was angry. I think that Banzai was forgotten long before his tragic ending, and I think that many people, not just his mom, many people failed him. Many people had the opportunity to help him, and they did not. He was a child of the streets. He raised himself. He had no adult guidance in his life whatsoever. None. And it's tragic. He's not the only youth that lives this way, but sadly it caught up with him.
And it's the truth. He was allowed to smoke cigarettes. He was allowed
he hung around drug addicts, and his mom was, heavily into drugs and alcohol, and she would take him with her to these places and encourage that kind of behavior. That was his model.
Yes. And she will talk about how she deeply loved him and they had a really special bond. She has multiple interviews where she's she talks about this. People talked about him. His teachers came out and said that he was a child who came to school and he had a smell about him because you have to understand. And when we get into his case a little bit more, I will show you some pictures of his house. But he basically lived in a house with very little furniture. Every room had clothes strewn everywhere. If this little boy was able to even get himself dressed in the morning with clean clothes, probably didn't happen very often. And for him to be teased, he was heavily teased about it. All of those things. I mean, my heart broke for him. And, you look at his red hair and his big smile he's got a broken tooth in the front. He, I don't know how that happened to him. But you look at that little smile on that face and he just looks like a happy little boy.
Well, and I think that a lot of my frustration came from the fact that he was such an at-risk child, and nobody seemed to step up and intervene in that. And then once he went missing, he was more forgotten, not necessarily by the community members, but by law enforcement.
Mama asked if DCFS was ever involved with this situation. Yes, they had been out to the house. They had been called out to that house on numerous occasions.
And if you guys
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services right now is under very direct scrutiny, especially in our area, because there was recently a child that just passed away at the hands of his parents, and it caused a huge investigation into the Illinois Department of Family and Children's Services, where they can't find 192 records of visiting children's homes. And so that is where I say so many people failed him. He should have not been in that home. He should have been removed.
And the fact that he wasn't removed, I look at him and I think, it's like a throwaway society. It's like he was extremely poor. He lived in a very poor part of this town. I mentioned to you guys on Tuesday when I talked about Pekin, Illinois. Pekin, Illinois is known for it's a pretty much at this point in time. It's an all white community. There's very few non-white residents. It used to be known as a sundown town. And if you're not aware of what that means, a sundown town was that if you were of an ethnic origin, you better not be in the city in sundown, or they would throw you in the river or worse. And there's a whole book that was written about Pekin, Illinois, because I remember growing up and seeing the signs when I was little. And I used to ask my dad about those signs and what those signs meant, because it would be right there and say that if you're this, you better not be in our town at sundown. I didn't understand. It didn't make any sense to me.
I didn't experience that Pekin growing up, but I do know that some of my friends who are African American, if we were going to go to Pekin for whatever reason, not that there was ever really a lot of reasons to go to Pekin, but they would not go alone, even, when I was growing up. And it's not, even now, they're still hesitant to go there without
most definitely friends. And especially at night, you wouldn't want to go. So we haven't come out of that era very well, because here we are in 2022, and that we still have that kind of going on in that community. But one of the things that Ash ran into when she was trying to make her documentary was trying to get the police to listen to her when she would drum up a new witness or someone who claimed to have been where Bonsai was that night, because there are people that know what happened to him. And
yes, there are. And Ash has spoken to people who know what happened to him.
Yes.
And the police are not interested.
Yeah, it's like they don't care. They don't want to talk about it. They just want to, to me, it's just mind-blowing.
I think one thing that needs to be said is the area in which Bonsai's body was found, well, his remains, sorry, that is it wasn't the first time that area had been mowed or walked through. His body just didn't happen to be there.
No,
it's a wooded area, and there would have been. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. It was a girl. It was an old boyfriend of his mom's house. His parents owned that house, and then he ended up getting that house, and so he owned it. So there was a relationship there at one time, and that's where his remains were found, in the backyard, strewn all around.
Yes. And from my knowledge, excuse me, I don't. If his remains had been out there for 9 months, from everything I've heard and read, his remains did not look as though they had been out in the elements for 9 months.
No, they firmly believe that he was held in a cooler. The remains were was put into a cooler and held like in that cooler for a long time, and then he was dumped. I don't know. Mama asked whether or not anyone has reached out to the Attorney General's office for assistance since the police will not cooperate. I will tell you that I am going to have Ash on my show. She's going to come on and talk to us about Bonsai and some of the things that she found out and some of the things that she was able to uncover. Like I said, he lived and grew up in the meth world. He would be with adults. Some of them were child predators. There were a couple of them that were child predators. So I don't know if he was abused in any way by these people, but he would be around them when they were all, getting high on meth, and they would encourage him to do it or to try it. These are the stories that Ash was able to uncover from some of these people that she spoke to that was around this community and this drug
There's
community.
A lot of fear around this case.
A lot of fear.
Where again, that comes into play with Delphi a little bit. Whereas they didn't want to talk. There were a few of the people that Ash spoke with that didn't want to be identified.
Right.
And she's also still working on this case. She's not given up yet.
I see that Perry's in the chat, and I just want to say he knows exactly what we're talking about because he was undercover in the narcotics world, and he knows about meth and what it does in these small town communities and how it can take over. And the children of these people are just kind of left to kind of fend for themselves. And that's really what Bonsai was doing. Like Shelby said, he was a street child. He lived on the street for the most part, and he ran himself. He was always home at night, according to his mom. He would always come home and be with her. But that wasn't always the case either, because he did have friends who he would go to their house and their parents would let him spend the night. Or he would
for multiple nights in a row.
Multiple nights, because he couldn't get a hold of his mother. She would come to Peoria to do drugs or to meet up for sex or whatever it was she was doing. And she admits to all of this. I mean, she didn't, when she was interviewed and did all the multiple interviews around this case, she talked about her life and what she did. And she said she was always in contact with him by phone.
Which I find interesting because he didn't have a cell phone.
Exactly. He did not have a cell phone.
Well,
Plus, he
his
had no
mom,
money.
yeah, no. And I think, like, watch, go watch Ash's stuff for yourself. But
Oh yeah, I would
I
if you
was
guys.
not impressed with his mom at all. I think, and I don't mean, I'm not, obviously she loved him. She was his mom, but she didn't know how to be a mom either. And I
No,
think
she
she
was
knows
not.
more.
Yeah.
I think she knows more than what she lets on to know about what happened
What
to him.
happened
Not
to him?
necessarily who did it, but where he was in the evening that night.
Right. But yeah, Ash, like I said, she did an amazing documentary on him. She really uncovered a lot of stuff. I'm hoping to have her on next Tuesday. We haven't actually locked down the date yet. I'm waiting to hear from her. But yeah, she's going to be on soon, you guys. So she's really a really amazing person. And her documentaries that she's done, all 3 seasons are really well done. She just finished up or is finishing up the season on Kendrick Johnson. If you guys are familiar with Kendrick Johnson, he was the African-American high schooler from Valdosta, Georgia, who was murdered and rolled up in a gym mat, but everybody said it wasn't murder, that he actually fell into this gym mat trying to retrieve some shoes. She did the documentary series this past season on him, and it was amazing. His case is crazy, and if you guys haven't heard about it, that's another sad situation of a child living in a small town that has racist undertones from going way back, and there's a reason they don't want this case solved. 2 of the brothers who they believe may have been a part of this, their father was a FBI agent. And so it's just another one of those situations of where you have cover up going on and people not wanting the truth to get out.
And I think that's one thing that Ash is
we
really good at.
And Ash is really
she goes
good at
into a community and people are comfortable with her. She's not law enforcement, so they tend to want to talk to her, not necessarily on camera, or they will talk on camera, but have their identity hidden. But people feel comfortable, talking to her. If you go watch her thing on Bonsai, she walks around Pekin, which is a town in the area where she's going. It's not really a place where they welcome outsiders.
No.
We live in the area. Even I would not just go walking around asking questions about bonsai, but she did, and people talked to her, and that's
they do talk to her. And she is really good she makes them feel comfortable because she lets them know that what they say to her, if they don't want their name revealed or they don't want to be shown or whatever, she will definitely make sure that happens. She gives them that reassurance that they can trust her.
Yeah.
Not everybody
she even
does
has
that.
a good relationship with his mom.
Exactly.
Amazing. Like his mom just opens up to her like crazy.
Yeah, she certainly did. She opened up to her a lot. And I watched Lisa's interviews and her tears and when she would cry, and you can tell that she loved this little boy. The only way she knew how. And it is sad.
I agree with that.
I think she loved her little boy, but
I think she regrets a lot. I think a lot of it has to do with regret.
Yeah. But he was failed. His teachers could have helped more than they did. DCFS dropped the ball. I think that people that could help him didn't. And we hear these stories every day. This is constantly happening in our society every single day. And it is heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And
He's just
Cookie
one of
said
those forgotten kids.
there's one of these kids in every classroom, sometimes more than one, depending on where the classroom is. And
especially in this area.
And it's it really breaks my heart. It really does. And I agree. I hope they get an arrest for the murder of Kendrick Johnson, but they've closed his case again. They had opened it back up again, and the sheriff reclosed it. They don't want that case solved down there. But I'm here to tell you that boy did not fall in a gym mat after his shoes. All you have to do is watch the second autopsy they did by he's a renowned forensic pathologist, and I think it's Wecht that did the autopsy, and he explains it, that there's just no way that is what happened to him.
There's also been several incidences at that school of not kids dying, but racial acts.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that there's race involved here in this. That's right. It is Cyril Wecht. Thank you, John, for getting his name for me. It's sad. I mean, you got to stop. You have to stop and think about Bonsai's age. He was 13 years old, but he was little boy. He was very small in stature. He didn't weigh much. He was, extremely tiny. To be living in an adult world, exposed to adult things. Hey, Cordy, how are you? Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much for your support. I so appreciate you.
I think because Banzai was very trusting too. He loved people, and he in a lot of ways was, even though he was a street kid, he was very innocent in the way that he viewed other people. Like, he didn't view people as a threat.
No, he didn't. He tried to make friends. Some of his friends, like I said, were young. I want to say between the ages of 17 and 25 is some of the people he was hanging around with. And for a 13-year-old, that's a big age difference when you're talking about drugs and the things that he was being exposed to. Drugs, sex, all of it. So yeah, there's a lot more to his case.
He deserves justice.
Tech Death, you are so funny. I saw that from me, Malik. I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, no, it's they all deserve justice.
They do.
And I think one of the things that we have to do when we're covering these cases is remember that. We're the voice for the voiceless. These kids don't have a voice anymore. The sad thing that makes me so sad about Bonsai's case is there's not a reward. I mean, we have $325,000 in Delphi. There isn't a reward for him. His reward is $1,000 for tips that comes from another town, Peoria, and the Crime Stoppers program that they have there.
They fund that, yeah.
So, again, not everybody gets the same treatment. Not everybody gets the same coverage. And I think that Elias says it absolutely well when he says that these kids need better resources to be able to get them the help they need and get them away from dysfunctional drug addict parents. And it's not as easy as it sounds, because in the court system, the parents, it's hard to get kids away from their parents. It just is. They don't want to take kids. That's not what the system wants. They don't want to take them away from their parents.
If you listen to foster parents talk, it's always about the goal of reunification, which I'm not against, but I think that a lot of parents who have their children removed from their home need to have a higher standard in order to get them back, because we have so many cases, especially just in our area, where children are put back in the home and then they're injured again, or they're killed, or they go missing, whatever the case may be. And there's, the state doesn't want to put more money into DCFS, so they're overworked, they're underpaid. It's the never-ending cycle.
You stop and think about it. It is truly an issue, because no matter if it's DCFS in the state of Illinois or Child Protective Services in some of the other states, whatever the organization is, that is a funded service that is offered to communities, and they get their money. It has to be funded by the state. And I hate to say this, but there are certain political parties that don't want to fund stuff like that. They want to take money from those programs and put it somewhere else. And our kids are suffering. So we do need to put the screws in our states to the legislators about legislating more funds to help have more people on staff that are trained better to follow these kids and to follow these homes when they get.
Mama makes a good point too, that there's not enough placements for children. And I would say there's not enough good placements for children.
Exactly.
There's horror stories in foster care of foster families abusing children, neglecting children, because they get paid by the state to take these children in, and that's their income. That's how they make their money. And we shouldn't be making money off of children. That to me, that makes me angry.
No, it makes me angry. I totally agree with you. The foster care system is broken in this country. It's definitely broken because it has become a lucrative business. People have not just one foster child, but they get multiple foster kids. And then the kids suffer because they don't get the individual attention that they need. A lot of them, it ends up in neglect situations. And they're continually collecting the money for them. And they don't have enough people to come out and monitor these homes the way they need to be.
I work in the education field, and I can tell you I see it every day with kids. And I've had many children come through my doors that have been in foster care. And you can tell it when they're in a good home and when they're not. It's relevant and blatant.
Mama says she grew up in this system, and she can tell you some horror stories. I'm sure you can. I am sure you can, because there's plenty of them out there. And Pookie says sending them back home is like sending an addict to a drug house unless there's oversight, parenting classes, anger management. Exactly. You have to fix what's broken. If you don't fix what's broken and you send them back, it's just going to happen again. And that's what kept happening to him. And I think when you talk about why was he running, why was he considered a runaway kid, or why didn't he want to go to school? He was being bullied at school. He was being bullied so badly at school because of how he smelled, how he looked.
I don't think he was the smartest kid in this class. So that got him. I mean, you name it, and Bonsai had it.
He had a strike against everything.
It was, so he didn't want to be at school. He didn't want to be at home. So where else was he going to go?
And kids like that become targets for predators and for people that just want to do bad things. And Ash uncovered some stuff with him where it's possible that his death was either an accident that didn't actually mean to happen at a drug party, or they actually drugged him, causing him to act out, and there was a person there that went off about it and killed him. Those are the stories that she was able to uncover from some of these people that the police just don't want to talk about or investigate.
So Robert was the only child in the house. He does have an older sister who
his
was
older
a grown
stepsister
adult.
was older. She was an adult.
Yeah. So but for all intents purposes, yes, he was an only child.
Yeah, he was an only child. Yeah. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce him to you guys tonight and let you know about him and about this little boy, because when I started looking about people, I was going back through Facebook and through some of the Facebook groups about him, and there were so many people that knew him because he was a street kid. They would either see him on his bike, or they would see him. He would go to, like I said, he would go to some of his friends that he did have. He would go to their house, and their parents would take him in and make sure that he was fed, because he was hungry all the time. All the time he was hungry. And he would get a nice warm bed to sleep in, and sometimes he could be there for days, like Shelby told us. But so there were people out there that knew him and cared about him, but I don't feel that anybody...
And there's a large group of people in the community in Pekin and the surrounding area who are very invested in Bonsai's story and finding truth and justice for him. But sadly, that's where it stops. We can't get police to get on board with us.
You have to get... It's hard when you run into a law enforcement department that doesn't seem to care or doesn't seem to want to go that extra mile. I don't know. I don't really understand why they don't want to solve the case when there's
I don't
so
either,
much
because
people. There's so many people out there that want to talk.
Right.
So
I mean, go watch Ash's story. I really do encourage you to go watch it, because there is a theory, and it's not just one person telling this story. There are several people who speak about what happened that day and night. Yes. And what happened to Banzai.
Yeah, you won't regret going and watching her. She does really, really good work. And I'm really excited about having her on. And I hope you guys will too.
Maybe we can get her to go help Delphi.
Yeah,
no, I don't think she will.
I know. I really would. I think there's too much going on there for her. She might, depending, she wants to...
I think she prefers to cover things that aren't getting covered and talked about.
Yes.
And Delphi gets a lot of coverage. So,
and like she said, ones that she feels like law enforcement has lost investment in.
Yeah.
So, and just keep that in mind. And I know that you guys who follow me and who are here every night when I do my lives know that how I feel about these cases and how invested I get in them. And I think you all do too. I'm always surprised whenever I bring up a case, somebody in chat is aware of them. Somebody in chat knows about this person or whatever. So that always makes me feel good. I didn't think that there would probably be anybody in tonight that knew about Robert, but I hope you guys will go out.
There was earlier in the chat. Somebody that lives in Pekin was in the chat.
That's awesome. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that somebody did come, because It's important. I want his family and his sister to know that.
And I don't know, Kristen, maybe you can share. It frustrates me as well that they have not released his remains to his family. I don't know what more evidence they would need to pull from his remains.
Yeah, I don't
That they
understand
wouldn't
that
have already
either.
had time. They've had his remains now for what, 2 years?
They've had his remains since 2017.
Okay, so more than 2 years. Almost 5.
Yeah. And the police, the police, when the reporter asked the police about it, they said, well, we gave her a death certificate so she could go do her memorial ceremonies or services.
But that's not the same thing.
And to me, it's not the same thing. No.
You've lost a child. It's not the same thing as being able to put them to rest in peace. He's not in peace yet. That's, you know what I mean?
No, I totally do. I totally understand. Yep.
As much as I get frustrated with his mom, his family deserves to have that closure, I guess. Yep. Is what they don't have, that closure of having a spot to go where he's at if they want it. Those kinds of things.
Yep. And I agree. And so again, I thank you all for sticking with me tonight and listening about him.
He was a really cool kid.
He was.
I wish I'd have gotten to know him.
He was a cool kid, and that smile just to me is so infectious. I just think it shows the kind of love that was in him, that he was just one of those children that needed love, a lot of love. He wasn't getting
it.
And
I think that was he was in search of it any way he could get it, which put him even more at risk.
Exactly. So, I agree. He does.
He was looking for it in the wrong places.
Doesn't he have a precious smile? I love it. I do.
It lights up his whole face.
It does. His whole face just lights up. And that red hair.
Grab him and hug
him. I mean, it's just like,
yeah. And even his broken tooth. I like his broken tooth.
So I do too.
It adds character.
It's just him. So,
and it's, if you drive through Pekin, there are his pictures all over. There are community members there. Kristen said, what's the Bonsai? What's their group?
Oh, Team Bonsai.
Team Bonsai. They have huge posters all over the city of Pekin, with all this information and how to contact Crime Stoppers. And I think that's cool. That the community,
the community
has wrapped him up in love.
They have not given up on him, but it sounds like the police department has, and that's where it's at with me.
Yeah.
So, but I thank you, Shelby, for being with us tonight as a
You're welcome.
As a guest and not just a moderator.
Well, this was my case. I made her do this one.
Yes. Yeah.
Not that she didn't want to do it, but I was like, you have to do this one.
Yeah, she's like, you really need to do this case. And I wanted to, and so I thought, let's do it now rather than just wait. I mean, there's just so many, and every day I'm getting anywhere from 5 to 10 emails from people asking me to do cases. And trust me, I want to. It's not that I'm just not going to. You just got to give me some time.
You go, Daisy. I like that. Did you see what Daisy said? I'll go with you.
I love that. If I drive through Pekin, I'm bringing all my Black friends. Racism is ignorant.
Yes,
Isn't it though?
I agree.
I hear you. Bang that drum, Daisy. We need that. We need more love in this world and a lot less hate. And there's just nothing being said about that.
It does not cost anything to be kind.
It doesn't. It doesn't cost anything to pay it forward either. No. We all are, and that's what you do here way with something.
Just so you know.
What?
I said that's what you do here, just so you know. This is you paying it forward.
paying it forward. Yeah.
Because you
You
give a
know,
voice to those who can't, and to the
and that's
families who can't.
and that was my whole goal of starting it, was to try to give back and to help. Um, it's the whole reason that I'm here every time I'm here. And yeah, it takes a lot of time to research and get stuff put together. And
Whatever,
you
you're
know,
a nerd. You love research.
my videos take much longer time than my live streams do. I like my live streams so much because I get to interact with you guys. It becomes infectious to have you guys. And I know people laugh, but you know, I love my chat because you guys are so nice, so respectful of each other. People can come in, they can talk, they can say things, and we don't have big fights. We don't have people, you know, and granted, I have amazing moderators that are sitting in there helping to protect that. And we also have Nightbot working. But I think it's just the culture that's being created in this community of behind the crime door. I think people are realizing that that's the culture here, and the other culture needs to stay outside the door. Because I basically have told people that if you don't like what's going on here, there's the door. You know,
Well, I
no.
think that what people have to understand is that we all have opinions, excuse me, and we all have theories, and we all have ideas. And none of them are necessarily wrong. They're just different. And when you're talking about cases who haven't been solved, you're gonna have difference of opinions, and
Yes.
lots of them. And
Yep.
that's a good thing, because you're going to talk to somebody who's looked at it in a different way than you have. And it might get you thinking, or, you know, people could be watching, who knows?
And I'm
And
okay with
that
that. I'm
sparks
okay.
something. And that
I'm
sparks
okay with the
something.
difference of opinion. I'm not okay with people bashing family members or throwing family
Yeah,
members
no, no,
under
no,
the
no.
bus.
That's not what it, yeah, no.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying,
Okay.
or
Yeah, no, no, no. That's not what I
re-victimizing.
meant.
Those are
No,
the
we don't
things.
victimize.
Those are the things that I don't let happen here. And everybody here that's here, um, and yeah, working off no evidence. You know, we need to be talking about facts when we talk about these cases. Making up evidence or making up facts is nowhere to go. It doesn't lead us
No.
anywhere. So with all that being said, I love you guys. I'm really glad that you guys came tonight. QWERTY, thank you so much for your kind donation to my channel. I so appreciate you. You know, for all my members, thank you so much for joining to support me and to support the channel. You know, you guys, the membership will be paying off because I will be doing some interviews and some live streams that will be members only, just because I want my members to get a little bit extra, because that's what I've promised them. But you don't have to join. That is not what I'm here for. I want everybody to know that. That's not why I do this. And I've told that you guys that since I started, when I only had 200, 300 subscribers. But it does take time out of our days to make these things, to do these things. And I don't think that it's wrong that people, if they want to donate to you, that they can. So that's where my heart is with that. And that's why I decided to say, hey, it's okay. And I'm still apt to look for a charity that we choose as a community each month and give some money to. So we will be doing that as well as soon as I start getting the payments from the stuff that's coming into me. So you can always
I have a suggestion.
donate through PayPal, and you can always donate through the super chats, super stickers, whatever. So you have both options. Brad, you can become a member on the front, on my very front of my channel on YouTube, there's a join button, and all you have to do is click that. Now, if you are using an iPhone, I think it's a little bit different.
Hold on, I'll look.
And I
I've got my
cannot
phone right here.
remember. Jennifer's not here. She'd be able to tell us, because I know that people have had trouble. I don't know if AJ knows, but I know I've heard people that have iPhones have trouble sometimes joining from that link. But yeah.
I see the link. Hold on.
That's the donate one. How is the, let me see. Let me see what comes up here, Brad, when we put in join. There you go. If you use that link that just came up there, Brad, you can join through that link.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, AJ. I put this one up. I don't know if that's the right one or not. I know some people have been able to, though, because I've got members. So I'll try to work on that and make sure that I have it for the next live. We'll talk about that a little bit. AJ, thank you. So AJ was able to join. Thank you, AJ. How did you get the link to work? I was waiting for her to answer me.
So if you hit the join button, you can choose if you want which level you want. And
yeah,
then
I just click the join button. It gives you the 3 levels. Crime Door is $1.99 a month. And then I think there's the $4.99 level and then the $9.99
That's the
level.
detective, yeah.
There's the link. She got it. So there it is. That's the link that you need, Brad, that AJ just posted, which I think is the same one I posted, but hopefully. Because I think Jennifer had that all set up through Nightbot. But yeah, so that's how you guys can join. And subscribe and like to my videos and to my live streams, guys. That helps out as well. And if you hit the bell on the front of my page, that will get notifications to you, so you'll always know when I'm going live or when I drop a community post or anything like that as well. So anyway.
So Brad, if you click that link that takes you to home, you'll see the join button is blue next to the subscribe button. And if you click that blue join button, that's how you'll join.
Yeah, I think there's a blue button there that says join. But
yeah, it's right next to the subscribe button.
So
thanks for letting me tag along. It was fun.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm so glad that you came. And I mean that you were able to be here tonight, because there's a lot going on for our family this week. So I'm really glad that you're here, and that you have such good insights because of what you do out in the real world. Hey, Rosewood, so glad to see you. And oh, little Pookie, sorry. She says the join button's black on her computer.
It's blue on mine. Maybe it's because my background's black. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it is depending on your background. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, my background's black.
But yeah, Shelby, I'm really glad that you were able to join me tonight to do this. After all, he was your inspiration for me to do the case. So
yeah, and I'm excited to have Ash on, because I know she's still been working on the case, and so it'll be interesting to see what.
Yep.
If she has anything new to offer.
Yeah, I will be really, really excited to see that too. And AJ, thank you so much for dropping all that information tonight. Guys, don't rush out of here. Make sure that you stick around to listen to my outro. music so you can hear Tech Death. I really want you to hear his song that he gave me for my outro. It's really good. If you like the beginning, you'll like the end. I wish everybody a good evening and a great night. I'm going to pull us out of here and leave you guys with some good music. Everybody take care, and I will talk to you soon.